You've reached the CEO Hotline. This is Krystal Jugarap, business mentor, visibility strategist, community builder, and your new favorite person to have on speed dial. Because you and I both know you are done playing small. This line is for wildly ambitious women founders who are ready to stop winging it and start running their business like a true CEO. We're talking raw, unfiltered strategy, real case studies, and some seriously ceiling-shattering powerhouse CEOs dropping in on the line. So stay on, because this call, it's about to change your business. Don't hang up.
Welcome back to the CEO Hotline. Today we have another powerhouse CEO dropping in on the line today. We have Nicole Santos. She is a business authenticity coach for women of color coaches, healers, and service providers. A Bay Area first-gen Filipina, she left a career in tech to build a business at the intersection of mindset, energy work, and intuitive strategy, helping women of color show up louder, prouder, and more unapologetically. Since 2021, she supported hundreds through healing circles, workshops, coaching, and retreats. And her mission is simple: to help women build businesses rooted in who they are and not just what they do. Nicole, I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Whenever I hear my own intro, I always think, wow, that's me.
Well, damn, I'm that girl. I do that.
Do you feel like that too sometimes when people intro, you're like, wow.
Kind of sometimes. But a
Yeah.
lot of times I feel like, ooh, I need to update that. Ooh, I need to update that. I think that's my usual response.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. And for those of you that have been tuning into the podcast, you already know whenever we have a powerhouse CEO joining us, we dive deep into tactical strategy and to what it actually took to get them to see the success that they've seen in their business. And Nicole, there were a couple of reasons why I wanted to bring you on the podcast today. For one, we have officially announced you as one of the speakers for A Woman's World's 2026. Cannot wait to have you grace our stage. And we're definitely going to dive into that. But also because you're a part of the Horolo community and you've very openly shared all of these beautiful things that you've been working on, the success that you've seen. And I think it was early on in the year, correct me if I'm wrong, but you took a very intentional couple of months to step back from the business, to really recalibrate, to not be so sales heavy. And at the other end of that, you saw what? An incredibly successful launch. Correct me on the numbers, either 40K, 60K. What was that?
Yeah. It was like 39K. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So a
Yeah.
close to 40K launch after taking two steps back. So you've been in business full time for about 3 years now
Yes.
and had the most successful launch of your career. What did that look like, taking a couple of steps back? Why did you do that? And what do you think ultimately contributed to having such a successful launch?
Yeah. Such a great question that I think is really important to talk about, of taking a few steps back, like you mentioned. So I had my launch in January 2026, and I had been planning for this launch since about September, October. So September, October, November, December. So 3, 4 months of planning and kind of getting ready. And I think I had 3 months where I didn't sign any clients. And that was very intentional, because I wanted to focus a lot of my energy on just figuring out what I wanted to do for this launch and really put a plan together for it, because my launch before that it was a great launch, but it was very quickly planned. Nothing wrong with it. Everything's all lessons in entrepreneurship, you know that. So it's
100%.
you do one thing, you learn the lessons, and then you implement the next time, right? So this specific time in January, I said I really want to focus my time and energy on doing a lot of prep, because I know throughout time and experience and over the last few years in business that a lot of a success with not just launches, but in business in general, is creating a lot of hype, creating demand, and building like a solid community and foundation so that when you go into a season of being very intentional of signing clients and having a launch, that's what it's really built on. So there was a few months where, like I mentioned, I wasn't trying to sign any new clients. I wasn't really doing like call to actions to work with me one on one. And it was really spent on a lot of like heads down work, a lot of introspection, a lot of like figuring out how do I want this new launch, this group to look like? And just really just planning down the foundation of everything. And it feels a little scary to do that because there, like I said, there was months where there was no new money coming in. Of course, I have like
Mhm.
reoccurring revenue, but I stood very firm in my vision of, so in September, October, I created a Google Doc and it said 40K launch. That was the title of the doc. And
Amazing.
it was funny because actually I think I initially titled it like 20 or 30K, and I was like, no, F that. I changed it to 40K.
Mhm.
And that sounds very crazy because the last launch I did, technically the revenue I got from that launch was 12,000. So I'm like, how am I supposed to 4 times revenue for this launch? It doesn't make logical sense,
Yeah.
but I just really held firm in the belief that like that's what I wanted to do and I just stuck with the plan.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many times would you say you've launched in your career?
I'm laughing because I did 2 launches that were quote unquote failed, 0 clients, $0. And first time I did it, nothing happened. I'm like, okay. Second time I did it, nothing happened. And I'm like, hmm. And then the third launch was the launch I did last year, which was the one that was like around 12K. And then I had the launch in January. So that was a total of 4 launches. The first 2 are quote unquote failures.
So 00, 12, 39.
Yeah.
So what does that look like to comparing it now in hindsight, now that you have more of this data, everything is data, right? Everything is a
Mhm.
lesson, like you said, in entrepreneurship. Now seeing how you had those first couple of launches, then you had one that was pretty good. And then you had one that was really successful that was so close to hitting your 40K. You were right there at the cusp of the 39, but you're still what, 3.5x your previous launch. What do you think you did differently with the strategies to go from the 0Ks twice to now having a close to 40K launch? What was different about your launch plan and even the way that you were carrying yourself through that launch period?
Yeah. I think there has to do some strategy, yes, but I also think I can go touch on both of them. But I also think when I did those 2 launches that were $0 launches, they were when I was doing a different niche. I was
Mm.
doing I was basically a self-trust embodiment coach. And I figured out later, like when I started working with a lot of entrepreneurs, that's when I figured out, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So, not that I wasn't supposed to be doing like that wasn't the work I was supposed to be doing, but that wasn't what my where my skills and knowledge were best put to use. So, I think pivoting my niche and who I support really impacted not only me, but I think how I showed up in my business. Cause I also think everything is like surrounded by and everything's energy, right? So I think once I pivoted to a niche that was actually like felt really, really good for me and that felt right fitting, I think that changed a lot too of how I showed up. So I think
Mm.
that's number one. Also, I've been talking a lot about this. I talked about this on my story yesterday, then also last night when I had, my, event that Krystal was at too, and it's all it came down to a lot of having self-belief and trust within myself as a person, as an entrepreneur, that if things don't go my way or things don't go as planned, or I don't sign as many clients as I'd like, or I don't sign any clients at all, like that's not a reflection of who I was. So I think those first two times I launched, I had a lot of pressure on myself,
Mm,
and I was attaching a lot of my worth to my results and my output, which now I have completely pivoted. Um, I'm not perfect, of course, but like when I think about my last two launches and also my next launch that I'm going to be going in next month in this upcoming month in July, of course, sure, I care. Like, I care about my business. I wanna serve people. I wanna work with clients. I wanna make money, of course. That's, like, as an entrepreneur, we want that, of course. But there's this different energy I have that if I ever have a failed or flop launch, like, it doesn't mean anything about me, and I really have
mhm.
learned the art of detachment
Yeah.
of the results we get. So I think that was also important. But strategy-wise, it was a lot of it's a lot of pre-prep planning. That's what it is. It's not like, "Hey, I'm opening my doors in 2, 3 weeks," and I start planning. No, it's like I plan for 2 at least 2 months ahead of time, and I'm very intentional on the things that are leading up to the doors being open. So doing a lot of, like right now I have a newsletter going on, and then my last launch, I had a free 7-day, Telegram training going on. So I'm giving a lot of value and knowledge beforehand. I'm building a lot of trust with my community, and I'm sharing a lot of value and knowledge so that when it comes to the time when doors are open, people are already getting familiar with who I am, what I have to
Mhm.
offer, my personality, my coaching style, so that when the doors are open, it's not so much of a big decision to make of like, oh, is this right for me? Should I join? It's more of like, oh, I've gotten used to Nicole and what she stands for and her coaching style. And then I can make an informed decision. Do I jive with her? Do I like her? Do I align with her? And do I want to work with her?
Mhm.
Quick interruption. If you're a woman in business, you know summer gets loud. Kids are home, you got vacations to go on, there's a lot going on, and it can be easy to feel like you're losing momentum. So I built Summer Proof. It's 60 days in Telegram where we're sharpening the most important aspects of your business. Yes, even if you're working less hours over these next couple of months. It is not a heavy, time-consuming course, and it's definitely not just accountability. We're going to get so much deeper than that so that we can set you up for major momentum. Every day you'll receive a quick voice note from me that'll shift your perspective on how you're approaching your business and offer one small but powerful action you can actually take in all the beautiful chaos of summer so that you're walking away feeling more clarity, conviction, and excitement about your business than ever before. We just got started on the 15th, so that means there's still time to join in on the fun. The link is in the show notes. All right, let's get back into it.
Amazing. I love that you are giving our audience more behind the scenes of what that runway actually looks like. It's not just a matter of, hey, I'm going to launch something next week. Could you do that? Yes. But
Yeah.
when you're talking about really preparing for a successful launch, there's so much more of a visibility runway that you have to consider. And it's not just selling the thing, it's also just preparing your ideal client to be ready to buy the thing, to
Hmm.
get comfortable getting to know you and your coaching style. I love how you mentioned that. And I feel like I've seen such a beautiful like transformation in your content where you have gotten so much more authentic, so much more unfiltered. I'm seeing so much more of your personality and learning so much more of your story. And that's building more trust in you and more loyalty for you, right?
Yeah.
So you call yourself a business authenticity coach, not just a business coach, but an
Hmm.
authenticity coach. How would you say that the way that you're now conveying your values and who you are as a person behind your title as a coach, how has that potentially shifted, if any, the type of clientele that you're starting to bring into the work that you do?
Yeah, that's such a good question because yeah, so I'm attracting a lot of clients who are really good at what they do. There's a few different profiles, right? One of them is they're really good at what they do. They are already somewhat successful in like whatever they think whatever successful means to them, whether it's time freedom, financial freedom, whatever. Like they have some sort of success, but they still feel some sort of like visibility wound around showing up more authentically as them.
Mhm.
So it's been really interesting to work with clients who, like I said, are successful and they have amazing titles. Like maybe they're doctors, or they've been doing their service for 10, 12 years. But there's like a gap of them showing up more authentically. And I know that to be true, that when we show more of ourselves authentically, that makes a huge shift. So if you're already successful and you're not showing your personality and letting people get like a peek into your world, if you're not already doing that, like if and when you make that shift, there's a huge change that can happen because you're already successful. But when you let people in more in your world, it even builds more trust.
Mm.
And then I've been working with other clients who are just starting out, or they're a few years in or whatever, and they haven't reached like their goals that they have been wanting to, whether that's quit their job or just make more money or work with more clients, whatever it is. And it's also because they have a fear of being seen.
Yeah.
And just with the successful people who have that gap, with the people who are still building, when they still have that gap too, that gets them to the other level that they want to get to.
So what practices do you have any like go to, I don't know if I want to say remedies, but remedies for lack of a better word, for those that do have those visibility wounds that they feel like they know that there's potential there and they can ramp up sales, but that is the missing piece for them to be able to show more behind the scenes of who they are, of what their stories are, but there's friction there. There's a wall up. So how do you start breaking that wall down?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many different ways to do it. And I'll try to like maybe showcase one or two because everyone is so different with their visibility wound. It could come from like a specific s- um encounter from when they were like kids, or maybe like in high school, or maybe something like their parent or their friend said. So it's really diving into like if we can remember the first time, or just from the past years and experiences of like what made you be afraid of showing up authentically, is really helpful. And then also I like to kind of gauge where people are at currently. So some people might be, they share a little bit about their life and their story, but they're not really like diving too deep. Then I like to kind of start and take little baby steps of, for example, if you're you're sharing X about your life, and then I say, how would it feel for you to share Y about your life, and just see how it feels for them in their body. Because what we don't want to do is traumatize people's nervous systems and tell them like, no, you got to tell all your people about the most traumatic thing in your life. Right? So I
Mhm.
always like to start slow and be like, how does it feel if you share this? Do you want to share that? Right? And then we can kind of take baby steps for people to feel comfortable on like sharing their story. And then also I like to ask like, why do you even want to do this? You don't have to do this. Right? And it's usually something around like, well, I've been hiding for too long, or I don't know, I feel afraid to be seen by X, Y, and Z. And if we can kind of get down to like why they're feeling that and why they want to do this, that can kind of start to break down the barrier of showing up a little bit more as your true self.
Yeah. Okay, so bringing it back to what you believe is a very successful launch plan for anyone's offers, right? How are you intentionally incorporating like your storytelling? Do you have kind of a cadence that you go through or that you will start going through now having seen the success of your recent launch, going into the next one of okay, when we're 3 months out, the first few weeks is really me just sharing more of my story. Is there any kind of plan you have in place like that?
I don't. I'm very and I think this is where me and you, Crystal, kind of have the same views. Is like I do have like a strategy a little on social media, but I'm very intuitive with content. Like if I have an idea, I just make the piece of content.
Mhm.
When the strategy comes in is how I create and cultivate the actual piece of content. But like, for example, I made a post a few nights ago and it was talking about me quitting my job 3 years ago because it was my 3-year anniversary, and about how my dad passed away the day before that. So I just had that idea because it was my 3-year anniversary, and I'm like, I should share this story because yes, I've talked about it, but I already know with social media, like, you could talk about something 5 times and there's gonna be 10 people who are like, I've never heard that. So I'm
Yep.
always trying to like repeat stories, even though I think I
Mhm.
might have said it 10 times. I know damn well there's a bunch of people who haven't heard it. So I'm like, let me
Right.
just share this story, right? So then when I had the idea, I'm like, I want to share the story about leaving my job and about my dad passing and like what that meant to me and how it created me into the entrepreneur I am. And then I start to just kind of free write. I like to like brain dump, like, okay, this is what I want to write. And then I strategically move things like, oh, this is my hook. And it was like, I made the hook say something like, this was I said how I got the worst call of my life on what was supposed to be one of the best days. And it was like the story of how my dad's passing was the universe's sign to letting me know I was on the right path of entrepreneurship. And I'm like, great, that's like a great hook, right? And then I kind of just throw my story in, and then I always try to emphasize on my emotions of like how I was feeling, because as humans and psychology and sales and just building community, we build through emotions and connection. So then I put a bunch of like how I was feeling in the moment. Like I was feeling obviously grief, anxiety, and then I even put like guilt, like a lot of like these emotions that were shameful for me in the moment, but I've been able to work through, of course.
Yeah.
So I put some strategy in that sense, but with content, like I just get a download and I just share it, and I just trust and believe that it's good enough, and whoever's supposed to read it is supposed to read it.
Yeah. And this is where the unfiltering starts coming into play, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a really interesting conversation that I want to dive deeper into, because I've often seen a lot of women kind of ask this question of how much is too much to share. At the end of the day, you get to make that choice. You
Mm-hmm.
get to decide, okay, this feels really good. There's always a way that you can tie back your personal story into your business, right?
Yeah.
And have it be a little bit more intentional and strategic so it's still connected. So it doesn't feel like your social media or the way that you're showing up or your newsletters, whatever your form of communication is, it doesn't feel just all over the place and disjointed. At the end of the day, your lived experiences, the trauma that you've gone through, the way that you view life and how you operate in your business is because of those experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a direct connection. Sometimes it takes a little bit more digging to understand what that connection is.
Yeah.
But how do you start creating this content where it is easier for people to just resonate with you, right? Resonate with you as a person, not necessarily as a coach, but just you showing up in your life, pursuing something you're passionate about, and ultimately helping women. And then how do you start taking that engagement and then converting it into more of a nurture sequence where women are coming in and saying, you know what, Nicole, I think I do want to work with you.
I want to take a pause and ask you a really quick question. Are you still building your business in isolation? Listen, you do not have to do that anymore, okay? I built Harolo, our women's entrepreneurial community, because I knew I didn't want to go into business alone, and I'm tired of seeing other women entrepreneurs still building their business alone. This is a community based on real connection, real resource sharing, and a network of women who actually want to see you win. We're not just here for the superficial follows online and the surface level conversations. We have virtual workshops, mastermind calls, a members only platform, and we also host in-person events here in the Bay Area, and we're continuing to expand across the US every month. If you're ready to stop building solo and start surrounding yourself with people who get it, then join us at harolo.com/apply. That's HERROLO.com/apply. That link is also going to be in the show notes. Okay, let's get back into it.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay, that was a lot to
Take it in,
to
soak it in for a
unpack.
second.
Yeah, so you said the first part was like how do people start creating content like that?
No, just let's just go to the conversion part of it.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So you're posting something like that where people
Mhm.
are able to resonate with you more on a human level. But then how do you take that engagement so it doesn't just stop there of you potentially getting friend zoned or people
Oh,
resonating
yeah.
with you, but not jumping into wanting to work with you? Where does that shift start to happen? What does that conversation look like with you and the people engaging with your content?
Yeah. Okay, this is really, really good because I see this challenge or gap with a lot of people or just, entrepreneurs is people make a lot of content that resonates with people. And I'm sure people listening to this are going to be like, oh, that's happened to me, or that is happening to me,
Mhm.
where you share so much, right? You're like sharing about your day, you're sharing about your life, and everyone's like, you get DMs and comments like, oh my God, that resonated with me. Thank you for sharing. Or like, I admire you so much. Like they're showing praise and giving you your flowers, but then you get like crickets and nobody. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you all admire me, but like, work with me.
Right,
Right?
right.
So, yes, I see that a lot. And the main difference I see is people are sharing to just share, and it's kind of just like storytelling. And I started using this new term. It's called story selling. And the difference is with storytelling, you're just telling a story and there's no, how do I say, there's no goal of it. It's like, hey, I'm just going to
Mm.
share just to share. But when you start story selling, excuse me, you're storytelling, but there's a strategic point of view. There's a strategic point of it where you tie into the piece of content of like you said, you bring it back to your work and you bring it back to how you can help them, how you can support them. And then also too, the thing I see that is missing a lot is a sense of urgency. Continuously tell a story and people might be like, wow, that like like thank you for sharing that. But once you put in a little sense of urgency in there, that really shifts it, right? So for example,
Mm.
like I worked with like a few different personal trainers and they can make content around working out, right? And then people could message them and be like, oh my gosh, I love your body or whatever, like giving you all this praise.
Uh-huh.
But once, for example, for a personal trainer, if you incorporate somewhere like something around a sense of urgency of, hey, I'm doing this because I want to be able to play with my kids
Mm.
when I get older, and in order to do that, I can't just start getting fit when I have kids. I need to start getting fit today. Right? So we put in some sort of sense of urgency there, and it's not a sales tactic to be like to instill fear in you, to instill how do I say, like false fear. This is actual urgency of like, hey, I care about my work and this is very important. And this is why you should seriously consider starting this work today, not next year.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of those experiences that you're going through, like those mindset shifts that you've been able to experience, that makes it so easy for someone to understand that connection of like, oh my gosh, I'm going through the same thing,
Yeah.
right? For you to be able to say, like, this is why, like all that trauma that I went through, this is why I hold myself at a higher standard. This is why I coach my clients the way that I do, because I had to go through all of that to understand what works and what doesn't, what
Hmm.
does serve me and what doesn't. Right. And now I get to pour that back into my clients, into the work that
Hmm.
I do. So being able to intentionally make that connection, I think is so good. Story selling is so good. It's not just showing the behind the scenes for the
Yeah.
sake of creating content. There is a through line. I love this so much, especially this is the CEO hotline. This is what I talk about all the time of how are you bringing more intention into the way that you show up? Because as a CEO, there should be intention behind everything that you do. We don't want just visibility for the sake of visibility. There
Yeah.
has to be a reason. There has to be something that visibility is leading to, right? To more clients, to more conversion, to be able to transform offer a transformation to the people that you're serving.
Yeah.
Okay. This is also why I am so excited to have Nicole joining us for our third annual summit, A Woman's World 2026. It is happening September 12th. It's a full day event in Berkeley, California at this beautiful women owned space. And our theme this year is level up your personal branding, your leadership, and your marketing and sales. And this is what you do. You talk about authentic story selling. I'm going to start saying that so much. I love that. You should get that
I
trademark.
Yeah, it's actually gonna be a part of my next webinar. It's a part of the title, and I'm gonna go over like it in my
Amazing.
webinar. So
So
I'm so excited.
if you are listening to this and you've been feeling a little bit more friction and how do I show up a little bit more authentically? How do I start to incorporate more storytelling and be more intentional with the way that I am funneling in new leads into the different offers that I have? Nicole is going to break that down for us at Summit. So I am so incredibly excited to have you. Is there anything in particular that you are so excited to dive into on stage at Summit that you want to just give them a little sneak peek of?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm trying to think. I will definitely dive in a little bit about identity. That's very, very important. And I attribute a lot of just where I am today to doing a lot of identity work and continuously doing identity work. And I love strategy, of course. Like we're talking about it right now. And Krystal does all strategy. And I teach strategy too. And I think it's so important. We need to also complement it with a lot of identity work,
Mhm.
of just making sure like we feel we are that person that even deserves any of this and is worthy of any of this. So I'll definitely talk about identity work, how it plays into sales, business, and just growing and scaling too.
That is the part that is often missing
Yeah.
because you can't just show up and do the things if you don't feel fully embodied in the work. And
Yeah.
I say this so many times. If you've been listening to the podcast, you've probably heard me say it so many times already, even though we're not even that far into the podcast yet, of you need to be able to sell with conviction.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do that, you need to be able to step into the leader that can carry it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can truly attest to the things that you're selling. So the way that we are curating Summit is so intentional so that we can talk about that work and also do the work to step into that, right? To step into that kind of leadership. And I'm really excited about it. You attended last year. Can you give a few sentences, a little debrief of what you experienced last year, what you loved, especially for the folks that might not be familiar with Harolo, that might not have attended our summits in the past? Like, what did you love and take away from Summit last year?
Yeah. For me, whenever I go to any event, and when I went to the summit last year, I know there's a bunch of great speakers, right? Like I'm going to be a speaker, right? Of course. But the speakers are really important, and you walk away with a lot of just like new perspectives and knowledge, and also just feeling amped up, right? And just there's a feeling you get after leaving a space where there's people who are intentionally speaking about their stories and just their overall whatever they can offer to the community, right? So that's really important, and like I found that to be I felt when I walked away I was like pumped up, right? So that's important, yes, but what's really really important that I found was just walking away with just talking with so many different women. That's my favorite going to any event. But when I went to the summit last year, I mean, every time I go to a Harolo event or anything, I always meet a lot of women, and that that's just like priceless,
Mhm.
because building a community and just making connections, whether they're business connections like you can collaborate with, or people who become friends, or even people who become clients, or just like people you just have in your Rolodex of people that you can just like, if someone's asking about, one sort of service, and you're like, oh, I know someone who does that because you met them at an event, you met them at Summit, right? So I think that's one of the most like priceless things that you can get.
I love it all. It really is so much of the relationships that you're able to build. You're not just going to take cute photos, even though you'll get some cute photos. You're not
Yeah.
just going there to sit and listen to the speakers. You truly get to connect with our speakers and the people in the room that are all there to build something so incredible and that are actively doing it and have all these successful launches and really incredible products and all the things. And I think that's what's so special about the rooms that we create. It really is meant to build more genuine connection because your network truly is your net worth.
Mhm.
So, since you know I love talking about strategy, do you have strategies when you go into rooms like this? I know there are still so many women that have a little bit of hesitation going into new spaces, especially if they don't know anyone, they've never experienced it before. And then on the flip side of that, there are also some women that don't quite know how to maximize the opportunity of being in the room, how to continue building those relationships. So, what are your strategies, the intentions that you bring whenever you step into rooms like this so you can truly maximize it?
Yeah. So I think there is a little strategy in like, yeah, there is a little strategy when I go to events. But I think before I even do that, I really work on my mindset because whenever I go to an event, or even I step out the house, right? But going to an event, most importantly, I always have to like, I don't have to do it as much now, but before when I was kind of new to going to events or I would go alone and it kind of made me nervous before. I mean, still sometimes I get a little nervous, yeah. But now I have to just give myself a pep talk, whether it's
Mm.
actually doing it or I'm just like thinking it. It also depends how nervous I am or just if I'm anxious or if I just want to like show up there and be like really amped up. I have to do a lot of mindset work of like, I'm that girl. Like I have so much to offer. I have so much knowledge to share. So I do a lot of hyping myself up so that when I show up there, I feel because I'm an extroverted introvert. So if I don't have energy, I really cannot. So I have to pump myself up before.
Same.
So before I get there, I try to give myself like a pep talk to be like, when I walk in, I'm like confident and I'm there, right?
Mhm.
So I do that. And then I also just kind of tell myself things like that are validating. Like you're not the only one who's gonna be there alone. Um, you're gonna meet amazing people there. Like I tell myself these things that make me feel however I want to feel, whether that be like calm, confident, um, whatever it is. I try to create some intentional thoughts before I walk into the room if I'm feeling anxious or nervous or anything. And my thinking whenever I go to any event is I just want to connect with people and I just want to talk with people and whatever happens from there cuz like I said earlier, you'll make friends, you'll make business connections, you can meet people who turn into clients, like any of those things happen. So I kind of just make myself open to like whatever is supposed to
Mhm.
happen.
Mhm.
And then I think strategically it's a little bit of like what do I have upcoming that I can talk about with people? Or like when I'm talking to people and they're sharing with me what they do or what their challenges are, then I'm automatically like trying to pull the puzzle piece together like, "Oh, I know someone who does that," or like, "Oh, I have an event for that," or, "Oh, I have a webinar for that." So it's like, how can I support you in whatever you're
Mhm.
needing support in? Or even just like looking out for people who I can potentially like invite to, I host events or I have like guest coaches or whatever for my clients. So I'm always just thinking like, how can we just stay connected and stay in collaboration. I think that's like the main strategy and the mindset I have.
Okay, I love that last part of you weren't only sharing like potential webinars that you can bring them into that you were hosting, but one of the other things that you said was, who do I know that I can connect them to?
Mhm.
Not everything has to be this like transactional, how do I like get them to buy into me kind of thing, but
Yeah.
you have this perspective of how can I be of service And that comes from listening first,
Yeah.
which you mentioned as well, of understanding where are they actually at in their journey? What are they struggling with, if anything? Like, what are they excited to be building? And then what in my wheelhouse, in my network, do I know would be a support for them in that season?
Mm-hmm.
If I will probably have your episode go first, but I just recorded another episode with another incredible woman named Ati, and we talked about this a lot too, of having that next step that you can lead them into, whether it's your own offer or a connection that you can connect them with, because what that is ultimately building is more trust in you, is
Yeah.
more rapport, and it's not coming from you just trying to sell people into just random things just because you're looking for the next client, you're looking for the next sale, but it really is coming from a place of service and having a very clear next step. So, do you have any kind of like post event routine that you go through to make sure that you can stay on top of follow ups, or even like clearing out your phone of all of the photos and videos so you're not constantly running out of memory? Do you have any kind of routine post summit or post events in general?
Oh my gosh, such a good question. I try to, after any event I go to, and even last year when I went to Summit, is okay, first off, that day it happens, depending on the time, but that day it happens, I try not to do it. Because, like I said, I want everyone to hear who's like a introvert or extrovert introvert. Like, afterwards, I am just, do not talk to me for the rest of the day. I'm tired. So, the rest of the day, I probably let everything marinate. If I do have energy that day, I will post, but it doesn't matter. It's either that day or the next day. I always try to share on my stories of like attending. And that's just to do brand visibility and just,
Mhm.
as an entrepreneur, we're sharing our life constantly, right? So
Mhm.
it's for that. And then also shouting out like whoever's hosting the event. Because I know as someone who hosts events, I love when people sharing my events for visibility. So I'm like, let me support them, tag them, post their posts. And then also too, it's a you're knocking one bird out with two stones because you're helping them gain visibility. It's also helping you gain visibility too.
Yeah.
So I do that, and then I usually try to DM the people, not all of them. Just depends. Like if there's a lot of people I met, I'm not gonna DM everybody. It just depends how I'm
Yeah.
feeling. The people who I felt like very connected with, or I said that like I was gonna send them something, or they said they were gonna send me something, I try to DM them on Instagram. And it could be like a short message like, hey girl, it was so nice meeting you today. Here's the person I was talking about, or here's the event I was talking about, or whatever. So I'll do that. Or sometimes it's a voice note if I don't know, I'm feeling hot and I got energy that day. It just depends how I'm feeling. So it's
Yeah.
usually like a little text, like a little message or a voice note. But I usually try to do that. And just like you were saying, Krystal, of yes, I can offer what I have for I can offer what I can offer you what I have, and I can also put you and I can also put you in connection with someone else. It's the same thing with afterwards of doing that.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, I am the same way of after an event, I need to shut off for a bit.
Yeah.
Usually because I know if it's our event and I know people have tagged us, I will like sit in my car for a little bit and like repost things, and then I'll have like several hours where I don't even look at my phone at all and I
Yeah.
just sit and don't do
Yeah.
anything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I will come back to it and then I'll come back and repost everything. But I do also have a cadence of like, let me also just get everything off my phone and into Google Drive. Let me start like going through the motions and being very intentional with the follow up. The magic is in the follow up, you
Mhm.
guys. If you are going to events and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, nothing's happening, networking doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. The magic is in the follow up. You
You're
have to
just
be
not trying.
intentional with building relationships, like true human led relationships, so that you are building that trust and that rapport. Not everything is meant to be overnight. And that just because they're not buying into you now doesn't mean that there's not a place for them to buy into you into the future. And not everyone is going to be a client either. Like you
Yeah.
said, there's
Yeah.
collaborators, there's mentors, there's people that are going to be cheering you on, and those people matter too. So being able to recognize how you're having these conversations is a really, really key skill.
Yeah. What's
Okay.
important is just keeping the door open and conversation happening.
Yeah.
And like you're gonna be on each other's mind because you did a follow-up instead of like,
Oh,
oh, I met that girl that one time, we never talked again. But it's
yeah.
like, oh, I met her and then she DM'd me or I DM'd her, so it feels a little more open for next time if you want to talk again, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I am so excited to have you join us. Again, this is September 12th, Berkeley, California. It is a one-day event, but we're ultimately creating a full weekend experience. So there are going to be smaller events that are bookending summits. So get your ticket if you haven't already gotten your tickets. Prices are going to go up at the end of the month. So snag them now. You'll be able to connect with incredible women like Nicole. And Nicole, I know you said you have a launch coming up. So give us a couple more details of that for anyone that's listening that might want to join in on the fun.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm so excited to be at Summit this year. So if you're local, please come. We'd love to have you. Or if you're not local, who cares? Drive over,
Yeah,
fly
it'll be
down,
worth it.
whatever. I've went to events that like, okay, my good friend, she was a keynote speaker in Denver, so we flew together and I just went there to support her. So I've done a lot of things to go to events. So if you want to come, come. Um but yes, I actually have a webinar coming up. It's going to be on July 20th. It's a free webinar. It's called Selling as Reclamation: How to Grow Your Business to Full-Time Income Through Story Selling Without Compromising Your Values. It's going to be about like a 90-minute free webinar. And then after that, I am opening doors up to my group program Emergence, which is for women of color coaches, healers, mentors, and service providers who want to overcome their fear of being seen and launch their offer and sign clients. And it's a 12-month group program. And I have an amazing bonus that's going to be happening
Cool.
when doors open. So yeah, that's what I have going on upcoming.
We love a good bonus. Okay, so those links are definitely going to be in the show notes. So check out the free webinar, check out all of Nicole's offerings, get your ticket to Summit, join the community, join Horolo. Nicole is a part of Horolo. You want to get in the room so we can continue building incredible relationships and opportunities that come from being in community. Nicole, you're amazing. You know I love you. I am cheering you on so hard, girl. I love the way that you're showing up. She also did a phenomenal photo shoot recently. Drop your IG handle really quick. What's your IG handle?
It's at Nicole TG Santos, and you'll be seeing all the photos and videos coming on live soon
And
because
her
we're gonna.
photo shoots are fire, you guys. The way that she shows up on camera, so freaking good. So follow
Oh,
her
you're
if
so
you're not
sweet.
already following her. You are gonna love her. Get into her world, get into the Horolo world, and we will see you all hopefully in person in September. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.